Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Live with Laura. Today I've got my usual technology wizard, Lindsay, and my guest today is Jon Attenborough. So he's he's a big star on social media. He's got over 6,000 followers on Twitter. That's a lot. And he is really into basically disability, educating people about disability and making people aware of things regarding disability, and also is involved in a lot of campaigning for disability rights. He's also a fellow guide dog owner and he's a musician. So we think he's going to have great musical choices.
I'm absolutely flattered by that intro, Laura. Thank you.
So welcome, Jon. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you sort of live, and just anything you'd like to tell us, basically?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. So I was born in Perth, and I still live in Perth now. And when I was born with two quite rare eye conditions, and they're still fairly rare today. One of them was called microphthalmia, which means that my eyes didn't grow to be fully grown eyes. And I had a related condition to that called coloboma, which just means that there's a gap in the structure of the eye. So when the eyes didn't fully grow properly, the sort of, I don't know what the sort of official term is, but the structure of the eye didn't grow properly either. So when I was born, I had no sight in my right eye at all, but I did actually have reasonably good vision in my left eye up until around 6-7 years ago, when I got diagnosed with a really aggressive form of glaucoma in my left eye, and that was sort of my good eye. And that was round about the time when I sort of had to start using mobility aids. So I went on like long cane training, but
yeah,
I don't know about yourself, Laura, but I hate my long cane. I've never been good with it. My long cane skills are absolutely terrible. And then it was my mobility instructor at the time who suggested that maybe a guide dog might be the way to go. But up until that point, I was able to go through. Mostly, I went through mainstream education, but I think in my sort of later primary school years, I did go to a sort of specialised, like a blind school. For primary. I want to say primary 4, 5, and 6, and 7. I think. It was a school. It's not there anymore, but it was called Tuch in Dunfermline.
Oh, right.
And they were fantastic. I learned a lot through there, and I actually met somebody who I'm still in contact with today. Actually, he now works at Seascape in Kirkcaldy. I met him through Tuch as well. So up until but it was only maybe about sort of 7 or 8 years ago when I got glaucoma in my left eye, and I lost most of my vision in that eye. So like now I can only sort of really see. I can't see any detail, so I can make out sort of shapes and shadows in that eye, and a little bit of movement if it's up close, but not really any sort of fine details.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Yeah, and I'm totally with you there with the white cane skills. Mine are awful. But at the moment, I'm kind of, well, to be honest, I'm not really going anywhere due to lockdown, but my guide dog was withdrawn, so I'm waiting for another one. So if I do go out, I have to smash around with the cane and
it's stabbing you in the chest, and it's a nightmare. I hate it.
I know. It's horrible. So that takes you up to sort of primary school. So then did you go to mainstream secondary, or did you go to blind school?
No, I went to mainstream secondary school. So I went to Bell Baxter High School in Cooper. And I did have, I was quite fortunate, really, because they had a really good student support service at Bell Baxter, and they still do. They still have a really good service. So I would get, well, for all my classes, I got sort of classroom support, like a support worker who would take notes for me, and would make sure that any sort of class handouts were, in an accessible size for me and things like that. So I did go through sort of mainstream secondary school, but with sort of support workers in the class and that as well.
Yeah, that's good. And then after school, what did you get on to doing then?
So after school, that's when I really started getting into music, because I was always, it was sort of towards the end of secondary school. That's when I started going to like live music concerts with my friends and that it was around about that time that I started to learn to play the guitar as well. And I actually loved music as a subject at school. It was by far my favourite subject. And I think at that time, because there used to be a drum kit in the classroom, you used to just be able to sit there and make loud noises without getting in trouble and that. So, it was all something I really, really enjoyed. And I actually went on to college, Perth College, to do I can't remember what the actual name of the course was, but it was music performance. That's what it was.
All right.
Music performance. So I did that for a couple of years, and it was actually the band that we were sort of put into, like when we went into college, we were sort of put into groups, because it was a sort of music performance course. So they kind of created a band with the students who were there, and you would sort of learn. You would do there was various other modules that we went in, like music recording, music business, a little bit of accountancy and things like that. But it was the performance side that I really enjoyed, and we got to go out and play sort of live gigs in the community and that, at local pubs and clubs and that. And I really enjoyed that. So
yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah, no, it was excellent. It really was.
So did you stay with the band that you had, like, kind of made at college then, or what happened?
Yeah. So we actually, once that course finished, we actually got on really well together with the band and that. So we carried on sort of booking our own gigs and that, and we would play. Wow, I think we played quite a lot of different places, round about sort of Scotland, and a couple of ones in the sort of north of England and that as well.
Cool.
We did that for a couple of years afterwards, and then that's when people started to go their own sort of separate ways, and then we didn't sort of really play as much and that as well.
What was your band called?
We were called Plethora.
Ooh,
it was quite it sounds like quite an aggressive name, but we didn't really play that aggressive music really. But no, it was good. It was good fun. It was good fun. I really enjoyed these years.
Yeah, that's good. What's that, Lindsay?
You still make music today?
Yeah. So I've got. I still play my guitar every day, and I still do some recordings and that on my computer and stuff. I haven't played live in a lot of years, but I've done a lot of teaching. So I've taught. I've done a few. Even through the pandemic, I've done sort of online teaching and things like that. And one of the things I want to get involved in, or I'm sort of looking to get involved in, I've made inquiries about it, is getting involved in like music therapy. for like disabled people as well, because there's a lot of people, you know, who find music as, you know, quite therapeutic, and it can really sort of it can be a way of them communicating, you know, for people who maybe can't communicate verbally, but they can communicate through music, you know, whether that be like tapping the table to a certain beat, and you can really, you know, I've seen some amazing stuff. I think there's a charity you might have heard of called Nordoff Robbins, who do a lot of music therapy. They're sort of based down in London, and I've seen some of their stuff online, and you know, it's really quite incredible. So music therapy is something I'd really love to get involved with.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Does it sound really good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you sing as well, or do you just play guitar?
No, I couldn't sing to save myself. My voice is terrible.
Oh, we need to get somebody else there so you can get a duo going.
You should get Laura. She's in the choir. You guys.
Yeah, I'm in the choir, but that's as far as it goes.
You could be on vocals, Laura.
No, I'm just fine as part of a choir in the background where no one can really hear me. I do like singing, but yeah, I'm not a solo singer, definitely.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I wish I was musical, but I'm absolutely not. I'm terrible.
I'm sure that's not true.
Oh no, it's true. When I was at school, it was like, I think it was primary 6 or 7, whatever. It was time to learn the recorder, and like nearly all the girls in the class went to learn recorder, but I was rubbish. really, really rubbish.
I think most people are terrible at recorder though, so we can't really just keep on recorder skills.
No, I was terrible at recorder. I hated it.
But then woodwind instruments were my strength, so that was a person that was making actual music and not noise.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking earlier about the drum kit, I remember distinctly when I was really small and I must have been making up my Santa list, and I had the Argos book out, and I'm picking the things out the Argos book to write to Santa, and I says to my mum, "Oh, do you think Santa would bring me a drum kit?" Because it was just like Kitty's drum kit in the book. My mum was like, "No, I don't think so." My musical career was over before it even started, I think.
Yeah. You know, before I picked up the guitar, before I decided I wanted to play the guitar, I actually wanted to be a drummer. And I was exactly the same. I said to my mum, "Oh, I would love a drum kit." She was just like, "Absolutely not." You know, so that never happened.
Oh, well. So, do you want to tell us about your first song choice then?
Yeah. So the first song that I chose was actually by my favourite band. I've seen them live quite a lot. Is Iron Maiden, and the song is "The Evil That Men Do." And I picked this song because it kind of goes back to it. The song was kind of based off of a Shakespeare quote, and the Shakespeare quote was, let me see if I can get this right now. It's something like, the good that men do is often tarred with their bones, but the evil that men do lives on. And that kind of resonated with me, because it kind of it kind of rings true even today. You know, the bad things that people do are always remembered, but if people do good things in the world, it's it's forgotten really, really quickly. But if these sort of same people, you know, were to do something dreadful or something terrible, you know, their memory almost lives on forever because of that bad thing that they've done.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it kind of, it's almost a reminder that, you know, maybe we should sort of start remembering people who do really good things, and not so much the people who do, you know, really terrible, awful things.
You're very right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, but sadly, difficult to change, isn't it? Change people's perceptions.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I mean, it's a great song as well. That one, I really enjoy that one. It's probably one of my favourite songs.
Yeah, cool. So you've seen Iron Maiden, you were saying, quite a few times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're my favourite band. I think I first saw them. oh gosh, 2006, I think it was, at the SECC in Glasgow, and I've seen them all over the world. I've gone to concerts. I've seen them in Madison Square Garden in New York.
Oh, cool.
And I went to see them in 2016 as well in Milan in Italy. And a couple of years ago they did a show up in Aberdeen as well, and I went to that one.
Oh. Globetrotter.
yeah,
Following them round.
Yeah, totally love them.
Hopefully it won't be too much longer before we can get back and do things like
that. I know. That's one thing I've really been missing is going to concerts. Because I used to love going to live music, and I was actually supposed to see Iron Maiden last year again in Belfast, but obviously that was cancelled with the pandemic.
Yeah, one thing I miss a lot is we've got a theatre group at the Century Centre, and we go to see musicals, and there was three last year that we missed. Because it's just sad, isn't it?
It is sad, but fingers crossed. We're getting through the worst part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
We can see the other side. Hopefully, we can get back to concerts.
Yep. So at the end of the YouTube video, Lindsay will be putting the links up to the songs. So if you want to go and listen to Iron Maiden, you can listen at the end.
Excellent.
Right. So moving on to after college and your band going at separate ways, what sort of thing did you then get yourself into?
Well, I was sort of unemployed at that time, so I was sort of looking for work. The band thing, obviously, that came to an end. So I was then looking for work, and I thought, I wonder if I could get a job doing something within music. But at that time there was nothing. So I got to the point where I was like, I'll just sort of take what I can at that point. Mm-hmm. And there was a really interesting job that came up with St Johnstone Football Club in Perth. Mm-hmm. And it was in a temporary role for a year. It was as a community football coach.
Oh, right.
And I've always been quite into football as well. So I thought, why not? I'll apply for it. And I went for an interview, and to my surprise, they phoned the next day and they were like, "We really liked you at the interview. We would love to offer you the job." And I was a wee bit like, "Oh, wow, I didn't really expect to get the job because I had no sort of experience in football." And I said that at the interview. I remember saying, I don't actually have work experience, but I am, I'm interested in the coaching side and of stuff, and I would love to get involved. And that was obviously enough to, convince them I was the right candidate for it. So
yeah.
I did that for a year, and that was really interesting because they put me through some of my coaching qualifications at the same time while gaining some work experience. So it was mostly sort of coaching children's football in the sort of community department of St Johnstone Football Club, and that was really fun. And it was only a 12-month contract, so that only lasted a year, but that even probably to this day, that is probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had.
It sounds,
it was quite exciting working for a football club, and you're going into work and you're going to a big football stadium every day. It's quite exciting.
Yeah,
and that was really good. But then I actually applied for a job at RNIB after that. And it was also a temporary job. It was only on it was a really short contract. It was a 6-week contract as a admin.
That's short.
It was very short within the employment support team at RNIB, and it was just as admin support, just doing sort of general admin tasks and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was really good. and it was coming towards the end of that 6-week period. It was sort of week 5, and my manager at RNIB at the time, she said, there's a job vacancy coming up in the finance department. It's a finance assistant. Would you be interested in applying for it? It's an internal vacancy. And I was like, oh, my math skills it's like terrible. But, you know, I was like, you know, it's coming to the end of my work placement and I'll be sort of unemployed again. So I thought, why not? I'll apply for it. So I applied for that. And then I got offered an interview for it. And I went to the interview, and, you know, I was a wee bit like, oh man, I was a wee bit intimidated almost, because I'm like, accountancy, my math skills is terrible. I'm like, I don't know what, I've got no knowledge of accountancy whatsoever. So I was a wee bit intimidated even going for an interview at this job. But to my surprise again, I got a phone call a couple of days after the interview, and they offered me it.
Oh, cool.
I was like, then my heart was really pounding. You know, I was like, oh, what have I got myself into? But you know, they were really supportive, and they sort of trained me up on their systems, and I learned so much, and so much so that I stayed in that job for, gosh, it must have been about 7 years.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I stayed in finance for that length of time.
Oh, but your maths must have been up to good enough scratch.
yeah. Well, they are definitely now, and it became something that I really, really loved. And you know, if you went back, if someone was, you know, could go back and tell me when I was at school that you would love doing something like accountancy and maths, I would have laughed in their faces and said,
yeah,
absolutely no way. But and it became something that, you know, it wasn't a job where every day was the same. You know, there was always new challenges and new processes, and I've always been quite good with Excel spreadsheets as well. I've always really loved using Excel. So that you know, obviously helped a lot. So yeah, I was there for 7 years, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And so when I left RNIB, I thought I would love to continue doing something, you know, in sort of accountancy and finance and that. And so I went back to college and sort of got some accountancy qualifications. And I've done that for a few years, and sort of, you know, sort of dipping in and out of various things. And then I've been sort of just kind of picking up wee jobs in accountancy here and there, you know, sort of that, and that's kind of where I'm at now, you know, picking up jobs here and there, and that, which has been brilliant. It's been really good. Really enjoyed it.
Welcome to Forth Valley Sensory Centre, where we support people with sensory loss. The centre provides a wide range of groups and classes, helps people access digital technology, and how to save money on their fuel bills. If you have a sensory loss or know someone who does, then please get in touch.